Come back to HTC Invitational final. Oh man, that was a wild ride. Forsen versus Tides of Time. Our production manager disappeared for just a moment, but he is alive. He did not pass away, and he did not pass out. He actually had a break-in, and he had to stop it, just defeat the burglar. But now he's back, and we're back. Me, Nimsh, and Monk. Monk, how are you doing?
Welcome back, and we're just about ready to see our finals of the tournament. It's going to be Forsen Boys and Cloud9's very own Tides of Time. Certainly an exciting match between possibly the most aggro decks that you can find in the metagame against the most creative decks that you can find in the metagame.
Oh yeah, Tides Boys versus Forsen Boys, and Forsen is running a Mech Mage, Mech Shaman, and a Zeman Lock, where Tides is running some Volcanic Drakes. What's up with his decks?
Just I guess the card of the day for Tides of Time is Volcanic Drakes. He's brought him in two of his decks, and he's even brought Murloc Warlock as his third deck. Just I'm not sure if Tides is trying to be as creative as possible, but if there were a vote for that, he'd certainly get my vote.
All right, and we want to remind you guys that those guys, Tides Boys, Forsen Boys, they went through all those other players. We had 16 players invited to this tournament. The $5,000 prize pool. The winner is taking $2,500. All of the matches were best of fives. We had some cool stories. We had HTC sponsored players versus the not HTC sponsored players, and some crazy decks, crazy ideas, and fun stuff. A lot of top decks, a lot of really streamlined decks as well. A lot of fun during 2 days, and I'm pretty sad that we are going to finish after this last match, the final, but pretty excited to cast it for you here with Monk.
Yeah, and for the final time, we have to remind you guys that you can win some pretty cool swag just by simply tweeting with the hashtag HTC Esports. You can win one of 12 t-shirts, 2 tablets, or 1 phone that you can play Hearthstone on almost all of those devices.
All right, so Monk, predictions with those lineups, the lineups that we know and love from both of those players, who is having an edge coming into that final?
I think overall, I kind of have to give the edge to Tides of Time. It's certainly who I'm cheering for, not because I like the player perhaps, but just more that he's just bringing such awesome decks. It's just really awesome to see a player who's not cookie cuttering all the time, not net decking, just bringing his own style, his own flavor into tournaments.
All right, so I want Tides to win as well, not only because of Cloud9, but because of the Dragons and the Murlocs. But then Forsen is bringing, people's decks. Those are like decks that people play on ladder all the time. Very streamlined, good decks. Mech Mage, Mech Shaman. I face those a lot. Like people love those decks, and Forsen is playing excellent. He's showing excellency with those. So if you want to improve your Mech Mage or Mech Shaman play, definitely watch Forsen running those. And that Demon Lock called Demon Lock, it's kind of like I'm calling it demon lock because it's more like a zoo with demons, right? Like not traditional a demon lock going more into, or is it traditional demon lock? What is this deck really?
Well, it's kind of like a traditional zoo, but kind of morphed into this with void callers, with the Melganis, just a lot of value, I guess, just out tempoing your opponent with just huge plays like void with like Nubian egg into void caller or into void terror, for example, the void caller into void terror plus summoning a Melganis on the same turn, just things that your opponent just can't deal with on a certain turn.
All right, so we are here at game number 1 versus Tides of Finals versus Final Sen. Is this Forsen's first final?
Yeah, I believe it is. I believe he got to the semifinals of the VIA Game House Cup #1, but ever since then he hasn't really hit the mark.
And he has to face the Murlocs. So Mech Shaman versus Murlocs. Let's evaluate the hands first.
Um, yeah, it's really hard to tell from both players, but I guess the key card is going to be that Power Mace from both players.
Oh
And
wow, look at that. He is aiming for double knife and he
oh
hits
my
him!
god,
So medic!
never
Forsen is just
lucky.
clapping, never lucky, baby rage.
You know, Tides of Time actually has gotten really bad luck with knife juggle hits in previous games against Stripe Pro, for instance. But I guess like RNG rewards him this time at least.
Look at that cold light seer, just off the top. He's actually going for the tap here.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Cold Light Seer is that there's still too many Murlocs on the board that the Power Mace would be too good against. So he's just trying to set up more value. For example, if Forsen decides to clear one of the a non-Murloc here, then Tides of Time can potentially buff up to 3 Murlocs in the next turn.
Yeah, that's true. Also, running the Tide Hunter with Tide Caller with the Seer is actually an amazing play there. A 5/6 Spider Tank. What is Tides of Murlocs going to do here? All right, so you can Dark Bomb and then you can trade your minions into it, but it's not that great. If you Defender Argus,
everything just feels so weak at the moment. Maybe playing both Murlocs and hoping to overwhelm your opponent. The problem with Shaman is that it doesn't have too much spot removal. I mean, if you use Rock Biters for removal, then you're not going to get good value from. You're not going to be able to use those Rock Biters to combo with Doom Hammers, for instance, to go to your opponent's face.
Yeah, that's certainly true. But maybe just Defender of Argus and going for face. It's like Forsen's already at 19, and did he use an Neutron early? There was an Neutron, right? Or was there?
No, that was a Whirling Zap-O-Matic, I believe. That was played in turn 2.
Okay, yeah. So Tides has a lot of burst. Like he has the Dark Bomb.
Wow, going for the full board clear.
And hoping that there's no mech as a follow-up. There are 2 mechs.
2 mechs and a Doom Hammer. I think either would be any of the plays available to Forsen would be pretty good. He certainly has board control this turn, but he'll have to transfer that into like he just have to keep this board control because it is going to be the Warlock that has card advantage at this point, and he's going to keep up his card advantage because of his hero power. Meanwhile, Forsen has to get value off of his board with the Flame Tongue Totem and the Doom Hammer, and even a Power Mace is drawn. Any of these options would be pretty good.
Weapons are really good in minion trading, and but then again, like if you attack with a weapon, you're taking damage. And Tides of Time has a lot of burst in his deck. Right now we can see Reader. There's still double power overwhelming, Soulfires.
Yeah, this is pretty amazing. I like playing the Power Mace first here because if you play the Power Mace and then you play the Doom Hammer on the very next turn, you actually get Wind Fury. So you can attack with the Power Mace once, and then you can attack with the first charge of the Doom Hammer on the same turn for a second time.
Alright, so here, pretty much terrible turn. Just, is he forced to play Flame him and pass? Maybe just for the better mana situation, just go with this Defender of Argus.
Yeah, this is kind of the issue with this kind of bursty deck. It's that if you lose board control ever, then you're probably going to have a very hard time getting it back because so many of your cards are situational or they're very bursty.
Oh man, playing Defender of Argus, a vanilla Defender of Argus, not buffing anything on turn 6. It feels so bad. It feels so bad actually that Tides of Time is going to concede game number 1. So Forsen getting a lead with his Mech Shaman versus the Murlocs. He burned the fish. He pummeled the fish with those weapons.
Yeah, exactly. And just that key card of the Power Mace was exactly what he needed. Getting so many good trades, getting so much good value off of that one card. Not only did he kill off 2 minions, 2 very valuable minions. In fact, most of them were Murlocs from Tides of Time, but also he was able to buff his Spider Tank. So that Spider Tank actually tanked even more damage. So almost that was that Power Mace plus the Spider Tank was kind of like a 2 for 4 essentially.
Yeah, but then again, there was not really a great option to go for face. Like he could play Defender of Argus, buff Priestess, and buff the Murloc, go for face there, and try maybe to top deck Sunburst, but he didn't get that. Like he got the Flame Imp, he got some other cards which were not really helpful. So, but we mentioned that before as well. Like this Murloc deck, it needs to work once. It can snowball. It is one of the most snowbally decks. So if it snowballs versus Mech Mage, or if it snowballs versus the Demon Lock that Forsen has, it's going to lock itself into winning. But right now, Forsen is winning 1-0, and he just needs two more wins with his kind of aggro. Like I wouldn't say that Demon Log is an aggro deck. What kind of deck is this? Is it like mid range with spells?
Well, it's kind of like a board control deck, right? Back when Zoo was really popular, a lot of players called it an aggro deck, but in essence, it actually just tried to get board control as much as possible. In a sense, it's almost like a Shaman deck because Shaman and Paladin, of course, they're all decks that strive for board control. And with board control, they can do a lot more things, like with Abusive Sergeants, with Void Terrors, so many options there.
Is there any deck you can see right now that will never win from both of those players?
Well, first of all, Nimsh, this is Hearthstone, so any deck has a possibility of winning, right? But I think overall the matchups are fairly even all around. We have to keep in account too that Tides of Time is bringing such weird decks that's really hard to judge the matchups of any of the decks. I mean, adding in 2 Revenge into your Control Warrior deck, how much does that change your various matchups? Who knows? Only Tides of Time, I believe.
Yeah, he was testing and playing that matchup a lot. So it seems like neither of players are targeting any specific matchups. Well, Forsen was targeting Druid, but there's no Druid from Tides of Time. So most of these decks have a fair chance versus Forsen decks as well. And it will end up like we will end up seeing like what's going to happen with regards to the cards and decisions that players do. But it seems like there is nothing really outshining the 50-50 or maybe like 55-45 percentage in the matchups.
Yeah, exactly. There's just so many unknown factors, especially from Tides of Time's side. Also, a lot of these decks are fairly draw dependent as well, especially that Murloc Warlock. As you mentioned, like that deck can just get a lot of wins, but it can also very easily go 0-3. And even though that deck got Tides of Time this far into the tournament, it can easily fail him at this moment.
Do you think there is any all right, game 2 is actually starting. I wanted to ask if Forsen is stressed because it's his first final and Tides of Time was playing in the final before. But let's just focus on the hands here. Murlocs again versus that Demon Warlock, Zeman Lock, Zoo, Zeman, Demon. Some eggs.
Yeah. Eggs are going to be very valuable here because they're going to get a lot of value with the addition of the Power Overwhelmings. They're not going to have like very efficient trades against the Murlocs, but when you're using like an egg to deal 4 damage to your opponent's minions and then summon a 4/4, that's overall pretty good value.
Forsen is going to start with, he's thinking about Knife Juggler, but Knife Juggler will be easily countered if there's any Murloc. This tight Collar can attack into it. It's not much that Tides of Time can do here. It's only the question what if you go for the Bluegill to deal 4 damage now, or do you go for Juggler? Seeing that egg, you might be thinking, hey, there is a Power Overwhelming. This Nerubian egg is going to hatch next turn.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do suspect a Power Overwhelming, or rather, if you suspect an Abusive Sergeant and not a Power Overwhelming, then there's an option, for example, not to play like a Murloc or a Knife Juggler here, which is exactly what he does. He's playing around the Abusive Sergeant, but unfortunately, that's not the buff that Forsen has. He has the Power Overwhelming, which perfectly counters this Murloc. Not only that, yeah.
Walker on top of it.
Exactly. It's exactly what we were talking about. Just this deck, we've seen Tides of Time winning so many games with the Murloc Warlock, but it's kind of fizzling out at this moment.
Yeah, somehow it doesn't work. Right now, it's not really easy to do anything on this turn. Like, you want to play... What can you even do? Like, can't play 2 minions. Using Power Overwhelming to kill a Voidwalker doesn't seem right, especially with that 4/4 just sitting behind it and waiting to attack you next turn. Just maybe playing the worst minion you have and hoping for the next turn to do something. Like, if he plays Palo Stomper and passes, this is at least contesting... What is it? What is it actually contesting? Like, I guess that 1/1 Voidwalker.
Yeah, he's just hoping that his opponent will trade his Nerubian Egg or Nerubian Spider into the Puddle Stomper, so it kind of delays. It kind of gives him good knife juggles as well, or at least the potential for good knife juggles.
If he hits the Voidwalker.
Oh my god. Well.
All right. That's a fast concede from Tides of Time, missing that knife.
This might be the fastest finals we've ever seen. I mean, Firebat versus Stansifka at DreamHack Bucharest a few weeks ago was pretty quick, especially with the turn 3 finish from Firebat. But I mean, this could be even quicker. Just Tides of Time conceding 3 times in a row in the first 3 or 4 turns. It's exactly what we had predicted, that this Murloc Warlock might just go 0-3.
Monk, it seems like a nightmare. It's like if you would tell Tides of Time, let's say 2 months ago, hey Tides, you're going to be in the final versus Forsen. Tides of Time will be like, wait, versus Forsen? What? And then you will tell him, but you will have an outdated Murloc deck to win versus him. It seems like a nightmare you wake up from, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
but
why am I running this deck in the final of HTC Invitational?
I mean, it's certainly a deck that I don't think Tides of Time would be too surprised, because he is kind of like the mad genius, the most creative player that we know. Ever since the like in late 2014 or in the middle of 2014, he brought Mind Control Tech in Paladin. He brought Baron Geddon in Paladin, cards that we would never think of running in Paladin, and he won tournaments with those cards.
All right, so game number 3, Tides of Time versus Forsen. Dad is bringing good streamlined decks, just going for that final for the win, getting his first trophy. And Tides of Time just putting his faith in the fish.
Yeah, I certainly hope that Tides will at least be able to take one game here, and that certainly seems likely, even though the Blast Mage is kind of the perfect counter against this kind of Murloc deck. We don't see any mechs yet in Forsen's hand. Plus, like, yeah, he can't activate this Cogmaster, plus this Mad Scientist. Even if it gets a Mirror Entity on the field, it can get very easily countered by, like, a Young Priestess, even, for example.
Yeah, so pretty unlucky for Forsen not having the mech. You can see on Forsen's face that he's saying, yeah, never lucky, baby rage. But he is actually leading 2-0 versus Tides, and he's in a very good spot to take the trophy.
So you can even consider pinging here, because if you just play the Mad Scientist, eventually you want to ping on turn 3, but if you draw a mech on turn 3, you'll want to play the mech as well. So you're gonna have an awkward turn 3 as well.
Yeah. And also just getting Mirror Entity this early when your opponent has a lot of small minions, it's not doing much.
Well, fortunately for Forsen, there's no really good play from Tides of Time this turn, so he has to at least tap, which gives Forsen like kind of a breather.
Yeah, Tides of Time has a lot of burst in his hand, but no Murlocs, and he needs Murlocs to succeed. So another Voidwalker. Seeing what he's going to get. Vitality Totem, he will be able to use the Moroco. It's not yeah, Forsen's laughing. This is not the minion I was looking for. Oh, and he picks up the Flame Imp.
Nice.
So now it's on Forsen's... is Forsen going to concede fast here? What do you think? Those aggro matches, man.
Yeah,
Excited
exactly.
before anything happens.
I think it still might be a while. I mean, there hasn't been any huge Murloc turns yet, and Forsen always has the Goblin Blast Mage, but this Goblin Blast Mage will have to be working overtime if he ever wants to get back into this game.
That's absolutely true. And there is this Annoyatron, so maybe that work will pay off. Imagine 2 hits into the Knife Juggler and 2 hits into the Flame Imp. From the Blast Mage. Can Forsen pull it off?
I don't quite see any really good play besides that. You can Frostbolt. Like, what he's gonna do is Frostbolt, Anotron, and Mad Scientist. But the problem with that play is that he has to get really lucky that he needs to draw another mech in a later turn. So yeah. he's like going for this like kind of awkward play, in which he has to force himself to draw a mech on turn 7.
So here, being Tides of Time, you want to develop the Murloc, you want to play Defender Vargas, you go through a Neotron. The question is, what do you taunt? Do you taunt up Voidwalker and a Flame Imp? And then you attack, let's say, a Neotron with the Voidwalker, with one of the Murlocs. And just go for face. You can also just play the Murloc. You can trade Flame Imp into Lotheb if you want to go into board control, but with so much burst in hand, Oh wow, that's actually amazing. So you can, with this, you can actually trade with Lothar because this is such an amazing board that you want to protect your Murlocs.
Wow. These 3-4 and 2-4 Burlocks. That's gonna be quite out of the range for Forsen to deal with Goblin Blast Mage. And even though he draws it back, it might just be too late.
Yeah, he needs to hit Voidwalker. Like the problem is right now, for the Forsen's problem is like Tides of Time has 3 cards. He's going to draw 2. If he gets a single Murloc or 2 of them, it's going to buff those Tide Callers. They're really dangerous. Dangerous enough to fireball them.
Exactly. Like back in the day when Murlocs were like really powerful, and Murlocs actually had both the rank #1 legend on EU and NA. It was kind of like common knowledge that you have to get rid of the Murlocs as early as possible, or they just snowball way too hard.
And look
Especially
at
the
that Tide
Murloc Tide
Hunter.
Caller.
I think this is the Tide Caller, and the one in hand is Tide Hunter. That's
Exactly.
confusing. Yeah.
I looked it up right after Tides of Time's first match. I'm like, okay, in order to brush up for this cast, I actually have to learn all the names of the Murlocs.
Yep, that's true. They are tricky. And with Defender Vargas, oh, he's going for just the damage increase here.
I think it's fine because the like you like this Tinkertown Technician isn't threatening at all. It's not a mech even.
Yeah. All right, piloted Shredder and a Blast Mage or Mech Warper Blast Mage Bane. That Blast Mage might decide this game right now, right here. That's decent. Oh, War Leader. That was even more than decent. But is it enough? This is 7 plus 2 plus 3. Actually, that's 10. Plus he's 1 damage off.
Wow.
Oh wait, no, he's buffing his own Murlocs with the second War Leader. What is happening?
That's hilarious here.
That's actually hilarious. Using Mirrody against Forsen with the Murloc deck. Wow. 15 attack on a single Murloc. Monk. That was just crazy. It was big. It was bigger than a Fell Reaver. It was bigger than Deathwing.
Yeah, pretty amazing here. Yeah.
It's like Godzilla.
At least Tides of Time, he won a match with the Murloc Warlock, but now he has to win matches with or he has to win games with all the other decks the crazy decks that he's brought.
Yeah. So he has a Hunter with Volcanic Drake, and then he has a Warrior with Volcanic Drake. And I would say Warrior is fine versus Mech Mage, especially his version as well with Double Revenge. I would say it's actually like 55% at least versus that Mech Mage. And then Hunter, well, what's specific about his Hunter? He has that Volcanic Drake. He has Unleash the Hound. Like, other than that, it's normal Hunter, right? So
yeah, we keep hyping up the Volcanic Drakes, but to be honest, it's just one card. It's almost like he's running Cult Master in his Hunter, right? Because it's kind of just one card that you kind of combo with the Unleash the Hounds.
yeah. All right, this is game number 4. Forsen versus Tides of Time. Forsen just needs one more win, and Tides of Time is back. He's eating a lot, actually. OP,
Yep.
OP, boys.
Yeah, whenever you see Tides of Time playing tournaments, you actually always see him eating. Just kind of a trend that I've noticed.
Nourishing yourself is really important.
Yeah, especially since he's like he's eating very healthy food. We saw an apple even.
Yeah, a sandwich before. Tides of Apples. And he has a pretty good hand versus Mech Mage. He has the Fireworks, Shield Slam, Senjin, Execute. All the cards really good.
Yeah, but at least for now, he probably wants to play on curve.
Harrison Jones will probably be a blank. We
Yeah,
haven't
it's-
seen Blingtron.
Exactly.
Forsen.
It was only hyped who was running Blingtron in his mage deck, so definitely not too much value that Forsen, or rather that Tides of Time will be able to get from this Harrison Jones. Spider Tank. Yep. Pretty obvious play here, just going for the good curve and not running the Snow Chugger directly into
Into the weapon.
exactly. Like he's kind of sad that this Spider Tank will die, but at least he has he has at least has a Snow Chugger to follow that up with.
Yeah, that's true. Is a Neutron a better play if there is a Death Spite? If you play a Neutron now, you follow up with Tinkertown Technician next turn.
Besides Death Spite, what does Forsen have to worry about? The only other big turn 4 play is Senjin Shieldmaster, I guess.
The thing is that if you go for the Snow Chugger, it can die to just one hit, like a weapon, maybe armor up, shield slam, and it's going to get denied. And we've seen those Snow Chuggers being even executed by warrior players. And with a Neutron, you give yourself a chance to play that Technician as a 4/4 and get some value. And we see that there is a Fire War Axe for Tides of Time.
Yeah, so this like Tides of Time will be curving out very well here. Senjin into Sludge Belcher even. And it's like a very conscious choice for Tides of Time to bring Sludge Belcher to this tournament instead of the very obvious piloted shredders. And I think it's because he knows his deck is very greedy with the Volcanic Drakes, with so many dragons, and with the Blackwing Corruptors that he needs to be a little bit more defensive.
It's actually amazing how stable his draws are with this deck, with so many dragons and cards like Corruptors, as you mentioned. I didn't see any bad draws from Tides of Time. Mostly he just gets in right order. Wow, and he gets a dragon now to power that Corruptor. But what's the play here? Just playing Corruptor to kill the... Well, he can kill the Snow Chugger, I believe. Maybe attack into the Neutron.
Yeah, I mean, playing a Fire Elemental does seem pretty good here. It both develops the board. And, wow, I did not expect this, to be honest.
This protects this the Sludge Belcher. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, makes sense. It kind of preemptively protects the Sludge Belcher as well. Because you can still Shield Slam it afterwards, or that Tinkertown Technician. But, afterwards, the Tinkertown Technician will still have dealt its damage. Plus, like, the Snow Chugger, usually you're worried about that because it blocks out weapons. But with the Sludge Belcher, you're not as worried, I guess.
Yeah, it's still doing its work. Like, even if it stays alive, it's frozen, it's still taunt, it's still fine. And also it forces Forsen to ping it if he wants to kill it. So it locks 2 points of mana, forcing him into only using 4. Saying that Forsen is being forced to do stuff is so awkward.
Yeah. Kind of a tongue twister there. Yeah, none of Forsen plays seem very good here. And it's actually going to be him that seems to be just delaying like it's kind of like he's like the control player, even just delaying for that Dr. Boom turn. This is
emergency coolants on the Corruptor is cool.
Yeah, it'll save his Loatheb at least, which means maybe he'll get some extra damage in. It means he'll at least be able to punch through that Sludge Belcher, which is really annoying before.
All right, so there is a Fire War Axe, and I like killing the 1/2 and just killing the Snow Chugger with Belcher, because as we mentioned, Belcher is alright when it's frozen. It's still dealing 3 points of damage.
Yeah, I don't think yeah, the health of this Sludge Belcher being frozen doesn't really matter too much. You can kind of treat it like a taunted up Ancient Watcher here. It's just going to wow.
That missed.
Well, did it really? I think that was still okay, because at least it did 1 damage to the Sludge Belcher, and he Forsen was allowed to ping it.
What do you think about this play instead of playing Dr. Boom on 7?
I mean, we all joke about playing Dr. Boom on 7, but to be honest, like, the Goblin Blast Mage is almost as imbalanced as the Dr. Boom. And the problem with playing Dr. Boom on 7 is that there's so many 5-attack minions on board that it might have been like quite easy for Tides of Time to deal with it at that turn.
Well, right now Dr. Boom seems decent on turn 8, but then Tides of Time has that Brawl. Not really a way to stop Acolyte of Pain from drawing cards. Oh wow, execute. So with this, a brawl, and then maybe attack with Acolyte of Pain into Dr. Boom now, and then brawl. If Dr. Boom survives, you execute it. If anything else survives, you just kill it with the fireworks.
Yeah, exactly. So you can
Doesn't.
kind of like hedge his plays here, or have. I think it's just overall the safer option is to attack into Doctor Boom. Um. Okay.
I think that's fine as well because you can still take 7 damage to face if you want. Well, now it's a bit more dangerous if you take 4.
Yeah. Justifying this play, I'd say like, even like let's say he brawls here, the bombs will still do damage, and with this play, the bombs have less of a chance to deal damage to his face. Like they have more of a chance to kill the Acolyte of Pain, for example.
Yeah. And draw him more cards.
He's even
He's
considering
considering
an Nefarian.
Nefarian. So Dr. Boom and a bomb represent 10 points of damage, but Nefarian needs to be answered, and it's not like Mech Mage is running BGH. So 2 Mage cards, Counterspell, and Ice Block.
Okay, Ice Block is pretty amazing actually.
Yeah, it is.
Counterspell not as good because just of the variety of
Spare
spare
parts.
parts that Forsen can get.
You know, you're saying that now, but then after some time, the spare parts will be out. And there might be Antonidas with, let's say, one of those spare parts, or a Frostbolt, and you will be able to counter that.
Okay, so Forsen can actually trade into the Nefarian if he wants, but just judging from what he's done in previous turns, I would actually expect a Frostbolt on this Nefarian.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the damage done. Okay, so Forsen's going all in. So finally, we're going to see Tides of Brawl. And what is going to survive, Monk? Is it Nefarian? Is it Dr. Boom? It's actually the bomb.
Oh, Mistress of Pain is not good, unfortunately, and this game has just turned all the way around. Tides of Time has, at least for the moment, he's stabilized, and not only is he stabilized, but he has the option to, if he's like really feeling threatened, he can even play an Ice Block here. The thing with Ice Block is, if you're playing as a warrior, you can Ice Block up and then just keep armoring up. So when your opponent procs your Ice Block, like even if it's at 1 HP, you can just armor back up to like 3 or 1 HP and 2 armor immediately, even if you don't have a Shield Block or Shield Maiden.
Yeah, that's true. And here, Tides of Time is thinking what to kill. With the bomb, there is always a risk that the bomb will kill. Well, just deal 4 damage. If it deals 4 damage to Corruptor, it dies. If it deals 4 damage to face, then it's really bad for Tides. So he goes for Mistress.
Yeah, he's treating this bomb as kind of a leper gnome at the moment, because he's saying, if I don't attack this bomb, then he'll either have to trade in to my Blackwing Corruptor to get the 4 extra damage, or he'll have to attack my face to get 2 damage.
By the way, Fireball was lethal. Is there a way to lethal now from the bomb? If bomb hits face for 4, that's 6? Not really, not yet.
Even if you ping your bomb, that's still not enough damage.
Okay, Tides of Time needs something. He needs an armor up every turn. So what do you do here? Can you deal with this board somehow? You might want to attack with a weapon into the... Oh man, this is so awkward. You have to deny max, right? Like, there are only 2 cards in hand. You know there is a 1 spare part. You want to deny max, so I think you might have to attack into the bomb first with a 5-4.
Maybe this is a turn where you just use both your secrets.
And armor up. Can you use only 1 secret? Like maybe only use Ice Block, armor up, and play something? It's not really... There's not really something you can play. If you go for Death Spite, like let's say Death Spite, attack face. If you attack the bomb, you take 2. You're not going to die. if the bomb hits something else. All right, he's going for the bomb. He's taking the risk. If this bomb hits face for anything else,
Oh,
3 damage
three.
to face. That's it. That's 4 points of damage. And he
Well,
played counterspell instead of ice block.
yeah, what a great play actually, because he knows like one of the cards is a secret. Oh
But
my
he's dead.
god. Exactly. Forsen needed to draw a minion, and that was it. I guess a spell would have helped too. Yeah, either a spell or a minion would have helped because of the time rewinder.
If he would play an ice block, then he had a chance, right? But that's it. And Forsen is going to take the series and the tournament and the trophy and his first tournament victory, I believe. Winning versus Tides of Time. Well played by both players, and I really enjoyed this final. Oh man, just Murlocs, Dragons, Forsens. Crazy.
Yeah, Forsen's first tournament win, and I'm certain he's going to be really happy. Just an overall great experience so far from the HTC Invitational. Tides of Time was able to make it to the finals, but unfortunately, his decks just fell a tiny bit short.
All right, so we have our first winner of HTC Invitational. That is Forsen. You can see here what was the way. So Forsen won versus Team Liquid Naria. Then he defeated Colento, Hyped, and Tides of Time. So many great players. Such a long way with all those decks with the Mech Mage, Mech Shaman, and Demon Lock or Zeman Lock, kind of like a zoo. So, Monk, overall, closing thoughts from you. Did you enjoy it? What happened? Favorite moment of the tournament?
My favorite moment of the tournament was probably the draw that we saw from Stripe Crow versus Trump. One of the first draws we've ever seen in Hearthstone. It was certainly an exciting one with the Sarah Awakens, and it just was an interesting scenario, at least.
I certainly agree. And guys, I want to just confirm that the fact that our production manager disappeared, he got burgled, and he actually had a burglar in his house. It's not
Yeah,
a joke. He
yeah,
didn't
it's
pass away.
yeah, just really unfortunate. We give our thanks out to our production team.
Yeah. So a big shout out to our production team. We were able to come back. Nothing happened. Hopefully, like he is still alive, and he stopped the burglary, so he was able to return. Everything's fine there, and yeah, overall, I enjoyed the tournament very much. It was amazing 2 days. We have our champion. A big shout out to HTC for sponsoring us, and a big shout out to Trump for having us here on his channel, on his own channel. So, Mong, any closing thoughts from you?
Yeah, I enjoyed casting with you, Nimsh, as always. I enjoyed this great HCC tournament. So many great games, especially from the players that brought the interesting decks, especially from Trump on his own channel, bringing us the draw. Just great weekend overall, Nimsh.
Yeah, I certainly agree. So again, shout out to like big teams that were involved as well: TSM, Cloud9, Team Liquid, and all our players. And shout out to you viewers for watching and having fun and supporting all of us. So from me and from Monk, thank you so much.